Welcome to Sally's Sewing Bee. I'm Sally Thompson and today I'm going to show you how to make a letterbox pocket to go into the lining of a handbag. It can also be used on the outside of a bag. It has a zip opening. The thing with, if you don't know how to put this in really well, you end up with all the edges of the tape of the zip showing on the inside of the pocket, which can look a bit naff. So I want to show you the professional method that's used in the handbag making industry. Okay, let me come up to the table and I'll show you what I mean. So the actual pocket that I'm actually going to show you today is this one. So, by the way, most zips tend to close to the left and then they open to the right, but you can do whatever you like in your handbag to just be consistent, otherwise it can be a bit confusing as to how to open your pockets. If I just open it here and I show you the inside, this is the bit I was talking about. You can see the edge of the tape is actually enclosed, so you can't see any edges, which makes it look really neat. If I show you the back, you can see how it's been constructed. Well, you can get an idea, but the thing with this method is it's great, it works really well, but there is an order of doing it, and if you do anything in the wrong order, you actually come unstuck. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this in the correct order. The thing I'm going to show you first is, this is, say for instance, my lining material. As you can see, I've made a few marks here. This line along here, from this edge to this edge, is the width of the aperture of my zip pocket. So it's from here to here. Mine is 15 centimetres, I believe. Now, the width of the aperture is all dependent on the widest part of your zip, which of course is the pull, because you don't want it grazing the edges of your leather. So what you do is you get a something or other to measure with, and you look over down to from the top. That is about, it's just over a centimetre. Then you would add about 1 to 2 mil either side of that. So if that's about a centimetre, to be happy with that, I think I'm going to add 3 mil altogether. So it's going to be 1.3. So this means that the aperture is between here and here is 1.3, and then it's 15 centimetres long. What I need to do to make this really nice and solid is a piece of card, and that's why I've actually cut all the way down the centre line, but I've left these little triangles. Now the measurement of these triangles is half the width of your aperture, so this is 1.3, so 13 mil. What I've done is I've measured 6.5 to that point, 6.5. So I've cut it along the centre and created these triangles. So in fact I've got 6.5 width, 6.5 width there, and a 6.5 measurement there. And this is so that I can make this aperture look really neat. Let me just move that out of the way for a moment. Now I've glued this whole area with rubber solution glue, and this is the glue that we use in the handbag making trade, but you can use whatever glue is suitable, whatever you've got that's good to use with fabric. Because my glue is of a specific kind, I have to glue both areas that I want to stick together. And I've cut a piece of card. As you can see, it's exactly the same shape as what I've drawn on my piece of lining. So I've measured down, this is where the opening, this is where the zip teeth are going to go. I've measured the aperture so that my zip can fit into it just nicely. On the back of this is the back of the lining, I'm going to place some card, and I've made it roughly a centimetre all the way round. I've drawn that over my measurements for my zip opening, and I've glued it. So let me show you what I'm going to do now. Looking down through my letterbox opening with this card surround. I'm going to place it as best as I can on camera on top of there. Then I get a hand tool called a bone folder, which is made of cow bone. And first of all, I'm going to lift up this little triangle bit, and I'm going to push it back over the glued section. The card, same thing on this side. If it wasn't quite at the corner, and I'm not quite happy about that bit, so I'm just going to use my knife and I've just cut into that just a little bit, and that's so that I can really pick that up well. Now that's all good and well with those little corners, but these great big long bits, they need to be treated a little bit better. So using my bone folder and keeping my work on the table, I'm making the fabric stand up because the fabric is glued, the card is glued, it's kind of sticking up at about 90 degrees. Then I very gently sort of stroke the fabric over all the way to the end. You can do the same here. So just pick it up. So it's kind of standing up against the edge of the card. So I'm running my fingers along to keep it nice and still, stroking it over. There we go. And if I show you that from the right side, oh, it's got a bit mucky. I've just glued this up and it's kind of picking up anything that was on my work surface, so excuse that. But you can see that my aperture, I'll show it from the back, it's a little bit nicer. It's really quite a nice opening, it's nice sharp edges. So it helps to support the zip, helps to support the fabric around the zip, and it gives you nice straight edges. Now, as I've shown you already with the front, which is looking a little bit mucky, this has got the same glue. I've taken a piece of leather, and the pattern I used for that was the shape of the aperture, and then I added 2 centimetres all the way around. I could do whatever I wanted really. I could make it a fancy scrolly edge, so long as the bit in the middle was that shape and it was the same shape and size as my aperture on my lining, then it would be fine. So now I've glued my leather, and I'm just going to look through this sort of letterbox shape, and I'm going to place it as well as I can against the edges. In the real world I'll take some time to adjust that, but just so that you can get an idea, there we go, leather surround is ready. It is ready for sewing. We can't just leave it glued, it will come off. And the edge stitching that we use in the handbag industry is rather nice because it's done at 2mm from the edge. So I'm just going to show you one I did earlier. I have sewn 2 to 3mm all the way around the edge, pulled my threads through and finished them off. There we go. So this is obviously the right side of the lining and this is the wrong side. As you can see here, I've attached some tape. This is actually double-sided tape. Now I've put this here because the next stage is I need to put my zip in, okay? And double-sided tape generally comes in about 1 centimetre width. I've cut mine. The reason is now that I've done that edge stitch there for the outside of the surround, I will need to stitch along the bottom at one point and then around the rest of the top after that, and that needs to be 2 to 3mm away from the edge. Now if I put my tape right here, my sewing machine, I've got a big industrial machine and it does not like ordinary double-sided tape. There is a special type of double-sided tape you can buy which is generally okay for sewing machines, but this one isn't, so I've just put it just below where my stitch line is, and allowing for maybe an extra millimetre just to make sure. If you've ever tried to tape double-sided tape or something, it can be quite hard. I did actually peel these off earlier, which is a bit of a sneaky thing, but what I tend to do is I pick up both layers and then I scrape the top layer off and then peel it off. I'm going to peel those, there we go. Then I'm going to get my zip. If I do this facing you, this is so that you get an idea of where the zip should go, so it's closed to the left, yeah. I'm going to peer through my letterbox. By the way, I've measured my zip with about an extra centimetre either side. I don't want it too long. If you're using a zip that needs to fit directly into your aperture, then obviously you've got to get it so that it fits correctly. If you're using an ordinary domestic machine, you probably won't be able to sew over something as bulky as this. So you'd need to make sure that you're not going to be sewing over any teeth. So you'd have to get more like a dress zip that will go into your zip pocket. Okay, I'm peering down and I'm going to butt this edge up against there and just pull my zip pull through. This can be quite tricky, so I'm just going to give you an idea of how I do this, because I generally take a little bit of time. I think actually I might do it lengthways. So, butt it up. Oops. It'll be quite fiddly. It's because the tape is really sticky. Okay. I'm lining that up as best I can under the circumstances. The thing is with zips, if they look like a wiggly snake, they don't look very nice. So I always take quite a bit of time just rearranging that. And the tape is quite forgiving, as long as you don't press down too much. It will give you a chance to sort of, you know, unpeel it and then put it back on. I'm only going to do that as best as I can under these circumstances. So there's something I need to show you that's really important. Okay, right. Actually, that almost looks straight. It's not quite. So in the real world, I would sort that out so it looked really good. What I wanted to show you was the back. Now these are the ends of the tape, but I'm not forcing them into a straight line. I'm letting them go off at a bit of a Y shape, and I'm going to leave that. So my card is a straight line underneath that, but I'm letting those ends go off at a Y. Now what I need to do is to put some more double-sided tape on, okay? So like I said before, I used a narrower strip, so I'm cutting it. Don't use really good scissors, by the way, because it can really mess you up. You might not be able to see what I'm doing. I might be out of camera shot. Apologies. I'm cutting the length of my double-sided tape. I'm going to put one along the top edge. I can see where the card is. If I was using an ordinary dress zip, it would be a lot narrower and it'd be easier to see the card, or there might even be a little bit of sticky showing from the zip, and I might actually be able to use that rather than putting another piece on like I am. But this is the process. Right, so this is kind of where the edge of the card is, so I know it's not going to be anywhere near my stitch line, so that is really super duper. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to put your pocket on. Right, I'm looking for a pocket. It isn't attached to something. Right, bear with me, just talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. Okay, my pocket is, let me just show you the measurement. My pocket is the width of the aperture plus roughly 1.5 centimetres either side, roughly. Okay. I'm going to do a folded pocket. My pocket I've measured down from the bottom of my aperture 10 centimetres. Just pick a number, as long as it doesn't go close to the bottom of my bag or doesn't come too close to the bottom of my bag. Because I've measured from here down 10 centimetres, I'm going to fold it, so it needs to be double that, so 10 times 2 is 20, and then I'm going to add 3 centimetres for seam allowance. So let me just recap. For the width of your pocket, it's the width of the aperture plus 3 centimetres, that's 1.5 either side. Yeah. The drop of your pocket is whatever you want to measure from the bottom of the aperture down, double it and add 3 centimetres. If you were going to use a printed fabric for your pocket and it needed to be the right way up, you'd have to do it in a different method that I'm showing you today. Okay, but this is a folded pocket that I'm going to show you today. All right, I'm turning it back. Now, I'm going to leave the top cover on my piece of double-sided tape, and I'm gonna, because I didn't prepare this one earlier, this might take me a while. Right, so I'm straight, here we go, it's working. So I picked up both bits and then I'm just scraping the top bit off. Okay. You could always use tweezers or only to pull it, but you know, once you've got it up with your pointy thing, this is my awl, it really helps. Now, you've got to really concentrate on this bit because this is going to look really odd. This is the top of my lining, so to where it's going to be to the top of the bag, yes. This pocket, so this is the drop of the pocket, I'm putting one edge along the edge, the bottom edge of my tape, getting it even in the middle. There we go. So look, the length of the pocket is coming up this way. This is the right side of my pocket. I have placed the right side of my pocket against the back of my lining and it's pointing upwards. When I turn that back, pocket is sticking up from the top of the lining. I need to secure it because I'm going to have to sew. Okay, I've secured that with a bulldog clip. I am now ready to start stitching. Now, if I sew it all the way round, I'm going to have a rather funny little tiny little thing at the back with no pocket. So what we do is we start from a mitered corner. A mitered corner means it's a bit like a picture frame. It kind of goes off on a diagonal. And I want to sew 2 to 3 mil all the way around. Well, I want to sew 2 to 3 mil from this bottom edge. I want to start 2 to 3 mil from this edge in the mitered corner. So what I tend to do is I put my needle in on my machine and then I just check, I turn my work round and just check that the distance there, if I was coming from that direction, would be the same distance as I want to sew from here. So I'd start at mitered corner, I'm going to do 1 line of stitching all the way along to another mitered point here and stop. I'm going to turn my work round and pull my threads through. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I've undone the rolled up bit, okay, so I've stitched. I know it's a different colour zip. This is a different one I made earlier. So there's my mitered corner, yeah. I've sewn all the way along to another mitered corner there, excuse me. When I release the pocket, I'm then going to crease it with my finger. I don't want to iron it because it's got glue and all some tape and goodness knows what else there. So I'm just going to crease it down with my finger. Then I'm going to unpeel the top cover of the tape. Oh, this one's going to prove a bit tricky. I might try tackling it from the other corner. Right, bear with me. I've got to do this facing me. So this is the hardest bit is getting your double-sided tape to release its cover. It really doesn't want to let go. Okay, I got it. I'm going to peel that off and then I'll turn it back to face you again. So I've pulled it down, I've creased it with my finger. Now I'm taking the other bottom edge and checking that my edges are matching. I'm going to place that along the top of the tape. There we go. Then I like to put a couple of pins in there just to keep my pocket still, because there's nothing more annoying than you're doing a lovely job but you've accidentally stitched your pocket to something you weren't expecting to. The next job is, I will probably be starting from this side. I will start from my stitch point there, yeah, that mitered corner. I will stitch 2 to 3 mil all the way up, turn it around, sew all the way along there. If your zip pull gets in the way, just pull it down. Carry on, yeah, but keep your work on the machine obviously. And I want to finish exactly where I started that original line. Now, what that will look like is, come back to the finished pocket. So, opening up that zip, there we go. However, we've still got the sides to sew up, haven't we? If I show you the original one again, this is how you tackle doing the sides. By the way, you know, every time you do, say like that first row here, you need to pull your threads through and finish them off, yeah, by doing a couple of stitches. You can do sort of like a backwards and forwards on your machine if you like. I like to keep it all nice and single and do my own sort of double stitches behind. But you can do it however you want. So you need to do that as you go along. Don't leave all the ends for the end, because it would just, some of them you won't be able to get at. Now, to finish off the edges, I'm going to very gently pull this back. So the card, I'm pulling back the card away from the tape. I actually only need to stitch down from that, oops, from that miter point there. So I'm going to get as close as I can. You can see where I started there. That's my white thread. I just did this on my ordinary domestic machine. Sew down. That is probably just over 1 centimetre. I couldn't get any closer than that. So there's only a slight discrepancy there. When I come to do the other side, I turn it this way. Gently draw my card away and try not to damage it. Start from the bottom and sew to, as much as I can judge, that miter point. Now if I show you this again, you might not be able to see the white thread against the white cotton, but this is where my work on my surround was, from the front of the pocket, the actual leather surround. So that was my miter point. I've got really quite close. Yeah, that's as close as I can get. That is really, really good enough. Because then, if I show you the inside, yeah, you can just see that where my navy thread was. So that is actually a really nice, neat finish. And that is how to make a professional pocket for the inside of a lovely handbag. Well, I hope you found that informative. I know it is a little bit of a fiddly, long process, but you can always email me on sallyaintnosaint@gmail.com, and you can also contact me through my Facebook page, Sally's Sewing Bee. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.